making a start on the B33. It had a little bit of a funny noise to me on the top end, so I'm going to take the barrel off and the head off and see and just check to make sure that everything's okay. So this is a little bit of a record just to make sure I get things back in the right place. I've taken the seat off, I've taken the tank off, and I've taken the carburetor off. Going to remove the exhaust now. I've taken the pillion footrest off, and I'm just looking at the front of the exhaust here where the spacer is. Where are we? There. Just where the spacer is in the exhaust there, behind the bracket, just for putting it back on again. Well, I've loosened the cylinder head bolts there, and you can see that the head is just starting to lift. So I'm almost ready to take the head off. Hopefully this will go without any problems. Well, that's the cylinder head off. That's the exhaust push rod still in there. Let's just have a look at it. This is the cylinder head, and it's got a lot of carbon inside it. So I need to find out why. You can see from the top of the piston there's a lot of carbonisation on that. For an engine that has probably only done 3,000 miles since it was rebuilt. Let's have a look from the other side. You can get a better idea there. An awful lot of stuff on there. Well, that is an absolute disaster, because I've taken the barrel off and it looks very much like a circlip has come out. The side of the piston is all scored, and inside the barrel is knackered. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Hello there. I find myself in an unenviable position again with this is my BSA B33 500cc. I bought this 2.5 years ago. I went down to the Midlands for it, and I've done 4,500 miles. When I bought it, it was supposedly had been rebuilt and reconditioned. I was told that it had been re-sleeved back to standard, and it was fine. I've had some good journeys on it till the last few weeks, when it started making a little bit of a noise and I wasn't sure what it was, and I thought, I've got to have a look at this. So when I finished my other project, the Barracuda I've been working on, I put the B33 up on the ramp here, and I've stripped it, and it was a bit of a horror story. But basically what's happened here is the circlips come out of the gudgeon pin, and it's caused quite a bit of damage on the barrel. So basically I'm going to now have to take the whole engine out, strip it down, clean it out, check everything to make sure there's no wear, because obviously there's swarf inside the engine. I got some advice from my expert friend John Moss Robinson. I've been looking all over for a replacement piston. To find a genuine Hepalite piston, new old stock, is very difficult. So I'm looking for one of them. I've taken the barrel away to a local engineering company who are going to engineer it and re-sleeve it. When I get the piston, I'll take the piston down and they'll match it up. I never expected to have to do this kind of work to Lady Marion here. That's what I call her, Lady Marion. But it proves that it doesn't matter what machine you buy, it can come with a reputation, it can come with a record to say that the engine's been rebuilt, but you don't know how it's been rebuilt, who rebuilt it, what quality materials they used, and probably most of all, you don't know what quality job that they did, because a lot of people do the job and they think they're doing an expert job and they think they're doing really well, and yet somebody else might look at that job and think it was botched up. So really, unless you have a look at it and do it yourself, you don't know. So I'm going to document it again, and hopefully in a fairly short period of time, a few weeks, hopefully I'll wind up putting this engine back together with a proper standard piston in it. So there's been a lot of things haven't been right with it. I didn't know that, of course, because, you know, the engine was running. So that's the start of it, and I'll document it as how it goes. Rear brake disconnected, footrest removed, and I'm just draining the primary chain case before we take that off. So that's the magnetic sump bolt removed, just to drain the crankcase, and I'll show you what's on the magnetic sump bolt in just a second. That is the magnetic bolt that I've just taken out of the sump, an SRM magnetic sump plate, and all of that on the top of it is swarf from the damaged piston. Horrendous. Taking the engine shock absorber off with a C-spanner. Oops. Now we'll remove the clutch plates. just removing the exhaust rocker now. I've taken the nut off the end and I'm just very gently tapping it out, and there she comes out of there. We'll just put that back in there so we know how they are. That's the exhaust rocker out. And that's the inlet rocker coming out there. We'll take that out. And we lift it out and catch the spring. The washer. There's a washer there. There's a spring there. The rocker goes on there. There's another washer. Inlet cam. I'm going to try and I'm going to remove the valves now. Just pop the collets off and just there's the valve springs, and there's the valve in a bit of a state, but we'll have a go, we'll dress that up. This one is the inlet valve. Quite dirty, quite pitted, but we'll clean them up. And that's the clutch centre removed with the help of an impact driver, so you can just see the bearings there. Next stage probably to take the inner primary chain case off. The two bearing cages have come off the bearing here, and I've marked it with a little bit of white paint to show which is the back before I start taking it off. I've just drained the old engine oil using my new toy here. It's a vacuum pump for draining oil. Really good. The oil has to be changed because obviously the engine is full of swarf and it's all got to be washed out, so the oil's got to be changed. So there it is, drained into the oil extractor. On with the next step. And that's the clutch centre come off with the with a puller. Really difficult job to get it off. It's got a woodruff key. Unless you've got a puller, it's quite difficult. Next thing, we're going to take off the wire, the locking wire on these three nuts. Take the nuts off, take the final one off there, and then hopefully the inner case will be able to come off. The bolt for the inner chain case also has a little spacer just in there. That's just a reminder for putting it back. And a chain case. I've just used that extractor there to take the magneto pinion out. So I've removed the mag and the dynamo, complete with the points. It's just up there ready to put back in, hopefully a bit later when we get everything done. So the engine is virtually ready to come out. I think I've got the oil pipes to disconnect under there, and hopefully I can get the engine out. Just another reminder for myself actually, the top oil pipe, the top one that comes out of the tank, comes round and it goes down to the front oil connection on the engine. So the front oil connection all the way goes to the top oil pipe on the tank. Well, I've taken all the engine mounting bolts out, barring one at the front, one at the back in there. There's a plate goes across the top of these engine plates that's held on by these little screws, so I'm now going to take those out and take the plate off. It can save a fair amount of time just checking to make sure where the engine spacers are before I take the engine out. There looks like a wide washer there. There's a wide washer there, followed by what could be a spacer on that side. And the other side is exactly the same. So just before I take them out, to make sure they get put back in the right place. Well, I did manage to remove the engine with the aid of a trolley jack there. That was underneath the engine to support the weight while I loosened all of the engine fixings. The engine's now out, and here she is. So we're going to have a look and see what's going on inside there now. Right, the first thing coming off is going to be the SRM magnetic sump plate. We'll take that off and then we'll get into stripping the engine and giving it a good clean, hopefully getting rid of all the swarf and seeing what the state of things are. Now this is exactly what you don't want to see in a magnetic sump plate. You could probably see all the little bits of swarf and metal off there. That's a result of losing a circlip, and that's why I'm stripping the engine. The oil tank has been flushed out probably 20 times with petrol, and right up until the last flushing I was still getting residue of swarf coming out. So it's done, and it's done properly now, and hopefully that's got rid of all of that. We've got the plate off. I'll just put a cable tie through here to so I don't lose the nut and bolt. And I don't know if you noticed, but the pinion here on the B33 is just an ordinary pinion. The last engine I did, the B31, it had been drilled out and lightened round here, which is unusual. So we'll get on with taking the cam gear out now. Before I take the timing gear out, I've put a tiny little mark on the locating dots and dashes. It'll easily rub off that when I put it back together, just to make sure that everything goes back in the same place that it came out of. So I'll let it dry and then I'll take it out. And that's the timing gear removed and just all labelled up there. Right, we're going to try and pull the pinion off the main shaft here. It's got a woodruff key in here. This is a special BSA tool. Just an adjustable puller really, so we'll hopefully this will pull it off. There she comes, off there, and just in there there's a little woodruff key. And there's a woodruff key there, you can just see it. I'll take it out there and we'll put that away in a bag to keep it nice and safe. And that's the two securing bolts for the oil pump. You'll probably notice that sometimes I have gloves on. The reason I do that is I've got a bit of dermatitis on my hands and I don't want to irritate it with oils and stuff like that. So I just play safe and wear gloves. So then we'll get, hopefully the oil pump will come off and then we can split the crankcases. And there we have the oil pump. And we'll give that a good clean out. And we'll just take these bolts out. Got a bit of card marked, just so I get all the bolts back in the right place again. And there we have it. The crankcases split. So we'll get a look at all that and clean everything up very shortly. I just put a heat gun on to expand the crankcase very little bit to allow the main shaft to come out this side. And there we are. Amazing what just a little bit of heat does, helps you to get things off really easily. So there we are. A stripped down B33 engine. I'm going to give it a really good clean up and then put it back together again. Right, we've managed to split the engine. Let's just have a quick look at it before I clean it up. It looks generally okay, but there is some kind of heavy deposits there around just at the bottom of the barrel of carbonised oil, it looks like. That's probably got something to do with the fact that the oil scraper ring was broken when the circlip came out, so there was a lot of oil residue getting into the combustion chamber and obviously past the scraper rings and into the engine. So that's why I want to give this a really good sort out and a good clean and get this residue out from the inside. Apart from that, everything seems generally okay. It doesn't look like it's suffered any long-term effects, so we'll give it a really good clean up. I'm waiting of the new piston coming. I'm getting it re-sleeved, the barrel, and then we'll start putting it back together. Well, that's the end of part one. The B33 engine stripped. In part two, we'll be putting it back together again. Thanks for watching.